With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Can we not say that them because
that this country gets it right?
Who are these bandits?
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m.
A big welcome to the DEX program here on Global Television, where we'll take a look at topical issues around the country. But let's begin the fact that Tribunal has fined DSTV and GoTV, giving the 150 million naira ordering 1 month free subscription for customers. The Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal, sitting in Abuja on Friday, awarded a fine of 150 million naira against MultiChoice Nigeria Limited for disrespecting its jurisdiction by flouting its order. The tribunal, in an unanimous decision by its 3-member panel, equally ordered MultiChoice to provide Nigerians with a 1-month free subscription on its DSTV and GoTV services. The Saratu Shafi-led tribunal made the orders following an expert motion that was filed on behalf of MultiChoice subscribers by legal practitioner Mr. Festus Onafide. The tribunal subsequently fixed July 3rd to hear the substantive action that was instituted against the company. It will be recalled that the panel had on April 29 restrained MultiChoice Nigeria Limited from going ahead with its plan to increase tariff and cost of its products and services on May 1st. They approached the tribunal alleging that the 8-day notice the respondent gave before hiking prices of its services was grossly inadequate. It contended that the tribunal had in its previous ruling stressed that at least 1 month's notice must be given to subscribers before such increase in prices of both DSTV and GoTV services could be affected. We're taking a look at this issue, and of course, we're also taking a look at the fact that the SGF has said that National Grid, by NLC, is a commission of, is a comment on a concern of treason, and for him, this must be excluded from every time NLC and TUC may want to go on another strike again. Recall that the NLC and TUC gave federal government 1 week to negotiate and, of course, to resolve the issues of minimum wage. But, we are still keeping fingers very crossed to know what happens if at the fallout of the negotiation, and then if we do not get to see federal government coming out with something substantive for the labor. Do we get to have another strike again? And would the National Grid also get down with a strike, as well as the hospitals where, doctors were withdrawn from the hospitals to work on that day, Monday this week? All of these will also be part of a discussion on the program, the DEX. Do stay very close to us. And of course, before we go on a quick break, let's not forget that by 8 p.m., the Super Eagles of Nigeria are warming up, getting ready for Bafana of South Africa at the capital city of Akwa Ibom, Seruiyo, on the World Cup Qualifier 2026. All of these will be part of a discussion today on the program, the DEX. Do stay with us. I'll be right back.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Ukeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely. Can we not say that again? Because
That this country gets it right.
Who are this bandit?
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
All right, many thanks for still staying with us. Let's begin our conversations with the fallout of the minimum wage negotiation, where the Secretary to the Government of the Federation has condemned the shutdown of National Grid during the suspended industrial action by the organized labor. He described the action as a treasonable felony, adding there was no way in the world that organized labor had shut down a country's national grid. The transmission company of Nigeria Workers Union had shut down the national grid on Monday to join the national strike embarked by the organized labor. The organized labor went on a strike to compel the government to agree on the new minimum wage. Several concern about this issue for the fact that even the hospitals were also shut down in the process of pressing the demands of labor and TUC. So, and right now the SGF is saying that is wrong. There is no way in the world where organized labor have to shut down national grid, because a lot of businesses have been affected. Nigeria lost so much of billions in the course of just a day, down of power. What happens in the future occurrences of these situations like this, and what should be able to put in place so as to avoid the repetition of such incidents again? And of course, we'll be understanding better what it means for federal government. So far, the issues of minimum wage is still on the burner of the federal government and labor, where negotiation is still on the high side. Even governors are out to say we cannot pay more than 70,000 now. We've seen governors forum, some governors making comments surrounding the projection of the new minimum wage workable for federal government and also for the Nigerian workers. But to us, it is more to that, the concern of what should be done, rather than going to fix the new minimum wage, about getting to address issues of inflation, issue of economy. Right now, 30,000 naira can no longer buy a bag of rice as it used to be as of last year, and over the time we've been operating on the minimum wage of 30,000 naira. What is better for workers? What is better for federal government? All of this, will be what Anthony and I will be adding voices to that issue. Anthony, good to have you on the program. You've seen behind the back of minimum wage. A lot have happened. The strike fallout on Monday, and now the SGF is saying that this is treasonable and it's condemnable, that there's no way in the world where this has been condoned. To you, should they rather address the issue rather than going after whatever might have actually happened on Monday?
I think it's just as good as saying there's no way in the world where former governors taunt the current incumbent governors, try to make life difficult for them, just like George Akume tried to do to Hyacinth Alia, the current governor of Benue State. And there's no way also in the world where governors in silver climb all their civil servants for months, and even after leaving office, the people cry due to bad governance of former governors like George Akume. For George Akume, I think he should also know that the government also committed treason by putting people in hardship, making Nigerians die, and allowing things to go south before they had to rise to the occasion, before they agreed to meet with the labor at a middle ground. Why did they have to wait for until the national grid was shut down before they knew they could pay something reasonable? For him, if he's been honest, he would as well not lobby to be in this current administration. If things were okay for him, he would have stayed put as a former governor and not seek or lobby to be in this present administration, because the times are tough. He lobbied to be in this administration and he's there, so he's feeding fat. He doesn't know what Nigerians are going through, so it could be easy for him to come out and say Labour committed treason. What the current government is doing, it's also treasonable, because you're putting Nigerians in total hardship, and a lot of lives were lost for that one day strike action. So why did they let it linger on when they knew they had answers? Yes, by Labour. So I think he's just playing to the gallery with those words, and I don't think the Nigerian state will not take him that serious to say they're going to prosecute Labour. We saw the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, did make a support threat to say 6 months jail term with Labour. It's laughable because they themselves, if they're being realistic, they know what government did on their own part was very unfair to the Nigerian people. Removed subsidy without any, commensurate scheme in place to, assuage the sufferings of Nigerians. So you don't treat You don't do things, bring up policies that are not pragmatic, just for the sake of bringing up policies and now expect people not to react. It's like you beat a child and say don't react. That's not realistic. So I think he's just saying this is more of like eye service comment he's making, because if he's being realistic, he should know that Nigerians are suffering and the Nigerian workers are also suffering. They had to do whatever it takes for the government to listen. But is the government even listening? That's another question, because even the new minimum wage, we're still yet to see government come out to say specifically, yes, we've agreed, this is what we're paying. The question to George Akume, is he earning 100,000 naira as salary where he is?
Because he has even come out to say that he cannot pay his drivers 100,000. I mean, it's four drivers.
It's just, okay.
And then we are even
asking him, why should he have four drivers? Is that not insane?
At a time like this.
Why should he have four drivers? Just one man having four drivers. Why? At this time when Nigerians can barely feed, and four drivers, 4 cars or more. Why?
More, I mean.
So it just tells you that they are very insensitive. Once they are in that position, they do not understand what Nigerians are going through. So you understand the reason why he feels that the shutdown of National Grid was treasonable.
I mean, it's even shocking
when they steal money as ex-governors, embezzle public funds, it's not treasonable. But when the Nigerian workers try to fight for their rights, then it's treasonable. It's very funny when drug pushers push drugs. They say capital punishment is good, but when they steal money, don't they think it's also capital punishment is also good for them? Because when they steal those money, it means hospitals that were supposed to be built, gratuities that were supposed to be paid will not be paid by state government, and those people die on the queue. All these retired workers, you hear them die on the queue because they are waiting for monies that will never come, because state governors have, embezzled those monies, and so those are also treasonable, actions by state governors. So I think
agree.
If we should be speaking, politicians are the ones who commit treason every year in, year out, because they don't keep to their promises, and when they manage to do roads or get pipe-borne waters, you see them celebrated like they've done one big thing. These are things that they are supposed to do naturally, and they're not doing it with their own personal money, so they shouldn't be celebrated.
I mean, it's even more worrisome because this is coming from the chairman of the federal government delegation, in the committee of the tripartite committee. He's the one leading the federal government delegation to the negotiation table. And so for us to have such a threatening statement coming from the chairman...
It just tells you that they don't appreciate what Nigerians are going through. They think it's a child's play when Nigerians cannot feed 3 times again, do not have light, the electricity tariff hike, they think is a play when Nigerians pay, you buy electricity for 10,000 naira in the last 3 days. It's because they've got access to these funds, unlimited funds, even funds that they cannot explain the sources. They have some incentives which it makes life easy for them, so they do not understand what the average Nigerian is going through. So you understand why he can make such comments.
A big one for us, and we are seeing the fact that negotiation is still on top with Labour, and for the federal government to come to terms with Labour. Labour are resisting the issue of still 60,000 naira, and concerned about what more can the federal government had. Even the federal government said, and the coordinating minister of economy, under the 48 hours instruction by the presidency to give him something workable, the cost implication of the new minimum wage, and we've had 105,000 even when they are asked to also counter that report. But we are still getting to know what is in the package by the president. They had said that the president is committed to making an increase of more than 60,000 naira minimum wage. But over the week right there, it has been the issue of minimum wage, and we are more concerned because any attempts to get NLC and TUC back to another strike action again will get to crumble the economy. We understand local businesses and SMEs have already have it a lot. The environment hasn't been conducive for them, and for the fact that this is also a case to deal with. There's a need to urgently address this issue. It has been a long-standing issue. It's not just today that NLC had told Nigerians and even told the federal government that if their demands are not met, they will be out for another strike. And for the fact that they've given 1 week ultimatum for the federal government to come up with something substantive enough, it is also another call, another opportunity for federal government to not take the workers for granted. There's a need to address the issue of minimum wage because life is actually on a high side for Nigerians. But I mean, we'll get to give you more stories regarding issues of minimum wage on our subsequent bulletins here on Global Television. But away from that, let's take a look at the fact that Tribunal fines DSTV and GoTV 150 million, orders 1 month free subscription. I mean, it was taken to court in the fact that there was no 1 month prior notice for customers. And several times it has been issues of more taxation for Nigerians. And for us to have multi-choice, very applaudable intervention there by the courts to see how they can actually make multi-choice, which has to do with the DSTV and the GoTV workable. Do you feel that this is in a bid to serve the Nigerian people? Because several times we find several taxation on Nigerians. The recent levy by the CBN was forcefully, fought against. If not, it would have been implemented. And right now, Nigerians will be paying from their nose for the DSTV and for multi-choice to come out with, new charges and tariff hikes and all of that. It was not considerate, knowing fully well that the times we were in the country wasn't welcome at the moment. Now the courts have given an injunction and given a fine and ordered 150 million and also given an order to operate for over 1 month free subscription for customers.
I think I'm not, I would say I'm in between because there are several times the courts have given rulings against DSTV, but the funny part of it is it's never carried out to the latter. There were the very last one which we felt was a landmark judgment was when DSTV was told to, do their payments based on how they did in South Africa and other African countries where it's pay as you watch. So you only pay what you watch for or the time frame you've watched. But we've seen that in Nigeria that hasn't worked. You have to pay for subscription for a month whether you're watching it or not. But in other countries we notice that it's the time frame you've watched that you pay for. And for this recent judgment, yes, it's a laudable one, but how the implementation or the enforcement of the ruling is what we're looking at. Will the courts ensure that this 150 million is paid by DSTV? And for the 1 month subscription, after the 1 month free subscription, what is the guarantee that Nigerians will not be made to pay for this 1 month free subscription somewhere along the line? So I think the monitoring and enforcement of this court ruling is very essential for us and for DSTV to learn her lessons, to know that before you increase your tariffs or your prices, is something that you have to, consult with the Nigerian populace and also the regulatory body, and not just arbitrarily increase your prices. So for me, I'm waiting to see if the enforcement of this court ruling will be adhered to by DSTV. Then how long for this 1 month free subscription, if it will be carried out to the latter, and hopefully for the Nigerian government to also monitor and ensure that this is not being paid for by Nigerians somewhere along the line. So I think that's the only way we can actually get DSTV to begin to do the right thing. And for the issue of paying subscription for 1 month, I think the courts and the Nigerian government still has to revisit that, because in other clients, you only have to pay for the time frame you've watched and not for 1 month, regardless of whether you watch it or not.
And a big one there, so we are getting to know better what that may looks like for DSTV, a multi-choice all impact for the fact that they want 1 month free subscription, how they're gonna receive this news and how they're gonna go about it. But away from that, let's begin to round it up here on the program with the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, where top 5 Eagles stars to count on South Africa. Bafana. The Super Eagles are already at the capital of Akwa Ibom State, Uyo, with the very sterling team of Bafana. But by 8 p.m., the match will be on just a few hours from now. Several concern about what may happen right there. It has been the fact that even Anthony knows better the different encounter that Super Eagles have got to have with the Bafana of South Africa. Right now, it's a struggle to qualify for the World Cup 2026. What would it look like, Anthony, for 8 p.m. today?
I think there's so much pressure on the Super Eagles. Currently, they're third in the group, and the result just coming out tells us that one of the teams in the group, Lesotho, did win their match. and also Zimbabwe winning 2-0 away. So what it means is that other teams in the group have picked up points. Benin Republic did win their match 1-0, so Benin Republic has a leapfrogged Nigeria and South Africa to the top of the group. Lesotho also got some good points this evening. So it means Nigeria is not just condemned to win against the Bafana, but also they have to win against Benin Republic 3 days later. That match will be played in Cote d'Ivoire. For the Super Eagles, it's a very tricky one. In 2014 and 2017, Nigeria had not too good results against South Africa in that nest of champions in Uyo. So the South Africans, especially at the last Cup of Nations, it was really a very tough one before we beat them via penalties 4-2. So they're coming with lots of confidence, believing they can beat Nigeria at home. For the Super Eagles, the fact that we've got a new coach, and
it's the time to prove a point.
It's also risky because there's no guarantee that this coach knows.
As experience.
He doesn't know his first 11, so he's going to be it's going to be more like try your luck, because now he's going to pick players based on what he thinks they can deliver, not that he has that guarantee that they can deliver the goods. But if you look at the form of Nigerian players, look at like Demola Lukman, who was brilliant for his club, Atlanta, at the Europa Cup, where he scored 3 goals in the finals. The first man to do that, scoring 3 goals. And also look at other players from the Bundesliga, Victor Boniface, his club winning 2 titles in the season. So we've got players who are they've got this champion mentality already for this season, and they're in good form. So we hope that with that, with that mindset, the Super Eagles will come out guns smoking, and with the fact that we know that the Uyo fans, they love football, and they're not like Lagos fans who will boo the Super Eagles if they start messing up. So there's a guarantee.
A lot of expectation. Nwabali, it seems to have, because his team is in South Africa. Yes. So do you think that why they are picking him to, as number 1 right there for today, is the fact that he has been in South Africa, so he knows better among the players of South Africa?
Well, in the Cup of Nations, Nwabali he's barely 1 year in the Super Eagles. When they went to the Cup of Nations, that was where he displaced the former number 1 goalkeeper, Francis Ozoho, who Nigerians have been praying for him not to be between the sticks, because Ozoho has been a very bad news for us whenever he's in between the sticks. But Nwabali has shown that, yes, he's a good goalkeeper. He did amazing during the Cup of Nations. He practically also carried the team against South Africa, because he saved, I think, 3 penalties against South Africa, which led to threats to his life. But in today's game, he's going to be hoping to continue the performance he did at the African Cup of Nations. And also the fact that the former goalkeeper, in person of Okoye Maduka, is back into the team, that is going to also inspire Nwabali to want to give his best to ensure, because he knows right now, if he doesn't do well, Maduka Okoye is ready to take back the number 1 jersey. So I think that is going to inspire him to give the best. Then for the whole entire team, now, because he's a new coach, nobody's shirt is guaranteed. So everybody is going to be giving in their best, wanting to impress the coach to have a permanent shirt in the team. So I think that's enough drive. Should be able to lead the Super Eagles to victory tonight, but it's going to be a very cagey one, because South Africans, whenever it's South Africa and Nigeria, the rivalry is a very big one. So we know that South Africans who want to do whatever they can to get one over Nigeria. But for the Super Eagles, they have a point to prove to the coach, to Nigerians, and they desperately would want to go to the World Cup in 2026. We missed out in Qatar 2020, and so the Super Eagles would not want 2022. They would not want to miss the next World Cup. So I think that should be enough power for the Super Eagles to beat the South Africans tonight in Uyo.
All we are looking forward to see the better performance will be coming from the Super Eagles of Nigeria against the Bafana of South Africa. But just before we round off the show, there is a breaking news coming in that governors under the edges of Nigerian Governors Forum have rejected the proposed 60,000 naira minimum wage for Nigerian workers. In a statement issued today by the Director of Media and Public Affairs, Ali Masau, the governor said the proposed minimum wage is too high and not sustainable. They expressed concern that if the 60,000 naira minimum wage is adopted, many states will allocate their entire Federal Account Allocation Committee funds to salaries, leaving no resources for development projects. In the statement reading in part, the Nigerian Governors Forum is in agreement that a new minimum wage is due. The forum also sympathizes with labor unions in their push for higher wages. However, the forum urges all parties to consider the fact that the minimum wage negotiation also involve consequential adjustment across all cadres, including pensioners. The Nigerian Governors Forum cautions parties in this important discussion to look beyond just signing a document for the sake of any agreement to be signed and should not be sustainable and realistic. All things considered, the Nigerian Governors Forum holds that 60,000 naira minimum wage proposal is not sustainable and cannot fly. It simply means that many states will spend all their FAC allocation on just paying salaries with nothing left for development purposes. That is a statement coming at the end of Governors Forum meeting earlier today. Anthony,
I
this
think,
is the issue that we've been talking of.
The question is, what development have they before now?
I think the federal government is sending them to stand as an injunction to fight this because
Yes.
they didn't come out with a statement. The issue of minimum wage have been in the burner. I mean, so proud to this time. Why didn't you come up with a statement to stand that, oh, this is the position of the Governors Forum? Why now that federal government are admitting the fact that, yes, we understand that 6,000 naira is not enough. We are going back to look at what we may have. And now the Governors Forum are coming in between to say it's not sustainable. Because that is a threat.
It's just a subtle way the federal government is trying to shy away from its responsibility. For the state governors, what tangible development can we see we've seen over time? So they're just using this as a smoke screen to not want to do the needful. In as much as they want to use us as an excuse, also, what are they willing to offer as state governors? And I can assure you that this, like you rightly pointed out, is they're just playing the role of the federal government, because if Edo State, Godwin Obaseki can't start paying 70,000 naira, which is even above 60,000 naira to the workers in the state, then I don't see why
it's a political move.
Other states cannot afford to pay 70,000 naira. I think we should begin to ask the questions about what are they doing with the federal allocations, what are they doing with the security votes. Let's convert all the security votes into paying this 50,000 naira and see if it's not possible. And the truth remains, state governors are not being realistic. They don't want to look outside the box to devise ways of internally generated revenue for their states. And they're just solely depending on the federal allocations, because if they had other means which they have devised to improve the internally generated revenues of their states, then paying the 60,000 naira worth shouldn't be an issue. This takes me back to what George Akume said. He said it's not all about paying the 60 or 100,000 but the productivity of the workers. So my question is, what is George Akume giving us?
What is the productivity of the 109 senators?
And what's the productivity of George Akume?
What is it doing, adding to the economy?
Yes, rather than fight Hyacinth earlier, the governor of Benue State. What is he himself personally?
I'm filing letters like the chief press secretaries.
So I think it's easy for them to run their mouth and say things just because they want to protect the current government.
That's a display today by the Nigerian Governors Forum. But I mean, the conversations will always be on, and of course, we'll get to know better if all of this is a political move for the Nigeria Governors Forum to react and say that even the 60,000 naira is not sustainable. Then what is better for Nigerian workers? All of these are concerned. It may seem another issue for Nigerian laborers and TUC to kick, because they will respond to this statement.
I think when Benson Ukpa, the head of information and public affairs, was on the desk on Wednesday, he made some very strong comments. He said, if the federal government decides to play hanky-panky with increasing the new national minimum, what they are doing is increasing the frontier for conflict. And he did warn that the next strike is going to be stronger, it's going to be longer. So I think the federal government, in as much as they're trying to play smart with all these comments, using the Nigerian Governors Forum, forgetting that Edo State has started making that payment, which with that alone has poured cold water on that their statement. The fact that Edo State can start paying it, other states can. And if they refuse to pay, I think all they are doing is inviting trouble, because if Labour decides to shut down the economy once again, I think it's going to take a very, very drastic, more than what they didn't anticipate that might just happen. We know that Nigerians are really tired of all the challenges they're going through, and I remember how much NSAS did cause the country a lot of chaos, a breakdown of law and order. And I think if for any reason Nigerians troop out on the street again in the name of, under any disguise, either protest or this particular issue, then I think it's going to be foolhardy of the government to let this happen.
All right. On the statement of the SGF, the national grid shutdown is treasonable. The Nigerian Labour Congress have reacted and sent Mr. SGF, treasonable felons and economic saboteurs are in Agbada and convoys. NLC replies SGF on that statement. And it is already a war starting with the Nigerian Labour. Right now that Nigerian Governors Forum have spoken, that 6,000 is not sustainable. We are waiting to know what the Labour will respond, and of course they are concerned about all of this. Issue of minimum wage is looking as if it's going to be a long ride, but we'll get to know the root of the matters and all of the concern that may be coming forward up for NLC, TUC versus federal government. That's where we'll wrap it up here on the program. The Dex, many thanks for joining and connecting with us on the program. As well, we will always get back on the Dex on your very TV right there from Monday down to the Friday. And that's where we'll wrap it up on those week editions. Do not forget the fact that subsequent conversations will be coming up on our programs. And of course, giving you perspective, helping you to know better what is actually happening. Thanks to my director and producer, Anthony Mamadou, for your thoughts and contributions tonight on the program. And that's where we'll wrap it up there. My name is Edikan Michael. Thanks for watching. God bless Nigeria.